Does your current financial situation cause you stress and anxiety, or even impact on your relationship with your loved ones? Do you want to know how you can overcome these negative feelings, heal your relationship, and navigate your financial future? If so, join me and Kelly today to learn the steps to change your money beliefs and change your life.
Welcome to the Money DNA channel. Money DNA is a financial fitness community where we bring everything about money and beyond money concepts in life to help you create healthy money habits and to be financially fit for good. It is important to understand that the advice is general in nature and does not take into account your personal objectives, financial needs, and overall well-being situation, and it may not be appropriate for you.
Hi everyone, it's Winnie here. Thank you for tuning into Money DNA. We'll be looking at financial therapy, change your money beliefs, and change your life today. Join me is Kelly Hope at the Hope Approach. Kelly is a counselor from families, couples, individuals, meditation practitioner, therapist, and coach. Her systematic therapy approach of exploring the connection between beliefs, meaning, and behaviors in individuals as well as relationships has helped many individuals, couples, and families overcome difficulties and challenges and deal with conflicts and finding harmony. Kelly also brought her passion to light and founded the Hope Approach, which is a program combining astrology, energy, and counseling to help others heal, strength, and develop a deep value and love and appreciation of oneself. Kelly currently lives in Bunbury, WA with her husband and 2 children. And with her own experience raised by deaf parents, Kelly is also training Australian Sign Language and encompasses Australian in many aspects of her practice. Kelly, welcome to Money DNA.
Thank you, Winnie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I really feel like honored to have you on the show. So one of the things that Kelly and I was just talking about is really important things about money beliefs. So I work with many couples in households because of my work, and they usually come to me with different reasons and also different challenges. And usually with their financial issues that show up will be the results like they have high level expenses, high spending habits, high debt levels, or maybe they are procrastinating on challenge or dealing with their money, or sometimes their finances just look like a mess. And because of that, it actually causes another level of anxiety and stress. So one thing that I also know is, according to the few studies in the last couple of years, money is actually the first stressor Australians have. And also 49% of employees carry financial stress to work. Another thing which is quite stunning, which also is understandable, is financial stress is one of the top reasons for marriage breakdown.
Yes.
Yeah, so we get a little bit more serious now because we are having more temptations in life, and most people are using like tap and go or afterpay, those kind of methods, and making their payments and lose the touch of their money. And that's why I invited Kelly to come and creating a series of money, stress and anxiety, couple and family, to show us some tips on how to deal with money, anxiety, and stress, and how to create a healthy financial relationship with your partner and your family. So before we start, Kelly, can I please have you introduce yourself to our audience about how you get into this field?
Thanks, Winnie. Yeah, look, like you, I also have a lot of clients, individuals and couples, even teenagers these days, sitting on the couch and worrying about their money and how they're spending their money or how they're not spending their money and whose money values are actually theirs and all of those things that encompass money. And we don't talk about these sort of things, our society is quite quiet about money, which is quite funny. But how I came into this field of doing counselling and coaching, like you said, I was also a meditation teacher. there's a few things. Definitely my life experiences have got me here. I've got lots of things that have gone on in my life, and a lot of people had their trust in me. And so I thought I'd better do something about that and get some actual qualifications. And I tell you now, it's the best job in the world, and I love helping people. I've got a helping nature, so I love helping people and my family. I do this sort of stuff in my own life as well. So I live what I breathe.
Yeah, and also one of the things that you share with me, which is quite interesting, I think that lots of our audience probably will be also intrigued by knowing. You mentioned that you are raised by their parents. Yeah. With this kind of life experience, did you have any special experience that you can share with our audience?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, both my mum and dad were deaf. So my mum was born deaf because my grandma had rubella. So back in the day before we had vaccinations for rubella. So that's how she was born deaf. So it's not a genetic function, which is why my sister and I aren't deaf, if anyone was wondering. Yeah. And I loved that, the culture, the community. I could definitely sign fluently by the time I was 2. But it did cause some stress in my life. I didn't talk until I was 5. I had to go to speech therapy to say things like specific and sausage and things that you don't think of. And then growing up, I was very much having to be an adult really, really quickly, and especially about money. My mum is in government housing, so I'd have to deal with government housing people at 10 or 12 when I didn't really know what I was talking about. I was trying to interpret something that I didn't understand. Yeah. So the life experience around that has been really challenging, but also really rewarding.
Yeah, I can definitely picture that as a teenager, you have to deal with a lot of financial monies, and at the same time, you don't really have a role model to deal with or look up to. And then all of a sudden, you have to understand about everything and even interpret that to your parents. That's such an interesting and also fascinating experience that you have. And I guess that's also why of the reason you are saying that you have to be all of a sudden become an adult in your early young stage.
Yeah, you're right. No role model, no training, if you like, no teaching, as parents. And like you said, I'm a parent of my 2 beautiful boys. One just went on camp today for the first time. So it's already like, oh, what am I doing? But in that, you try and do your best. You always try and do your best as a parent. But the thing is that our values are usually inherent in us from our family, and we only know what we're brought up with. We don't know anything else. And usually when we get into a relationship, we bring what we know, and we very rarely do any work as such on our, we don't do any therapy. We very rarely do therapy before we get into a relationship. We don't really talk about our own values, and we're really good at saying, I know parts of my parents that I don't like, that I don't want to be like, but we don't talk about the stuff that we do want to be like, and how do we get there?
That's right. So since we're talking about this as the very first episode of this series, we starting to kick off with a financial therapy. So where should we start?
Exactly there. Your beliefs and your values. What's your first interaction with money? Think about that. What was your first interaction with money? Was it hidden away from you, not talked about, and you felt like you had to ask for everything, and even then you didn't want to ask because you thought that you felt that it wasn't okay because we didn't have any? Were you in scarcity level? Or was it the opposite, where you got more money and no love? What was your first interaction with money?
And then why is it so important? Why do we need to talk about this then?
Well, it focuses on both on the emotional and physiological roots of your financial behavior that then creates financial stress.
Yeah.
So if we talk about beliefs and thoughts and what we know now, the thing is that once we're aware of what our good and bad parts of us are, we can then figure out how to move forward and where do we want to be instead of where we are.
Yeah, and I think that especially being raised in the Asian environment, a lot of times we notice that the parents usually use the material things to reward our children. Or another way that they are doing is they feel guilty not spending enough time with their children. So in a way, they are trading their love, or they are showing their love by giving gifts to children. In a way, that's a very twisted feeling for children, I would say.
You're right, because material things often can be thrown away. Material things can sometimes come off across that it's not important or it's overly important. And so, when you're in a scarcity model and you get brand new shoes, you look after them because you know you can't get another pair. When you're in excessive model, you're like, I don't care about those shoes. I actually just wanted you to come in and give me a hug.
Yeah.
And so how does that then translate into your relationship with money?
Yeah, and I think that oftentimes when we are looking at, let's say, back to the couple then, a lot of times we get into the couple relationship, male tend to be, I guess, being brainwashed or being told by our society that, you have to toughen up, you have to be a breadwinner. So you have to really take the responsibility to generate income and bring the bread and butter home. While the female also being told that, we have to play small, we have to just stay at home being a household mom, and then we need to really not talking about money, but then the other person to deal with most of the money issues. That's why sometimes there are going to be some conflicts, and also it will also create a lot of people like they are going through a financial abusement or any sort of things that could all happen with that kind of concept.
Yeah, financial, if you talk about emotional abuse and even domestic violence, money is definitely at the top of that. Also, I love how you said, when we look at it as a relationship, we probably don't even talk about how we do it. And if you talk about men, for example, our caveman brain has not developed psychologically as much as our technology has, for example. So in a caveman brain, then men's brains, and this is where gender does come part of it, and I don't like, specifically talking about gender, but men especially, their caveman brain is telling them they need to provide shelter and they need to provide food. And so in this day and age where we are now, this is what they are driven to do. If I have a family, if I have a partner, if I have something, I need to protect them by giving them shelter and food. While in the other stage, the women's brain have actually evolved a little bit quicker in that, yes, we need to be the nurturing side of the relationship, but we actually know that we can, that they don't have to always be the only one. And I like to talk about it in like building a house sort of model. They can't be the only pillar holding up the house. It doesn't work that way.
It's very much like the hunter and the gallery kind of concept, isn't it?
Correct. The male has to go out and he has to go and provide for the family, put the shelter over their head. And everyone's shelter these days, and always has been, a little bit different. Do you have a rock cave? Do you have a reef cave? What sort of cave do you have? Means how much work you have to put into it.
Yeah, so I guess that a lot of times when we're looking at money values and also beliefs, lots of times maybe is coming from our personality. It can also come from the inheritance from multiple generations, or even with our human being and also human nature. And I guess that especially in this 21st century, a lot of people are trying to talk about gender equality, and then it actually creates a little bit of conflicts as well, because now women is not just a gatherer, she is also have to pretend as a hunter. And how are we going to find a balance with that?
That is a really good point. I love that point. And this is where the communication comes in. When we actually, figure out ourselves, what's my money value and where did it come from? Probably 3 generations worth of cells and beliefs are in you. Yep. So what's my experience with money? What do I want to do? And where do I get these from? And what is my actual value? Because we can actually turn around and say, these are my 3 top values, but where does money sit in that for you? And where does that sit in for my partner? Maybe might be in a different position. And so we just need to have the communication, the self-awareness about what your money value is, but your belief in the influence actually then controls your self-confidence. If you know that your money value is yours and you believe it and you work towards it, your self-confidence will then be that too.
Definitely.
So if we start with the self.
All right. So I think that I was just about to ask you that how are we going to start? And I guess that you just touched on with the very first thing, which is being aware. Yes.
Number 1 is definitely, what are your values? What do you think about money and what do you want to do? We don't have to change anything yet. We just start there. What do I think about money? Do I think that it's evil or do I think that it's good? Do I think that, I can't achieve stuff, or do you think I'm overachieving? Have I been burnt in the past and that's why my fear is driving instead of my love? Like, what is it that I feel?
Yeah, while you are asking those questions, all of a sudden I just thought, oh, okay, that's going to be very interesting, because when you are going to ask about what's my value, how is it going to feel, how is it make me feel, all of a sudden some people may start to have those kind of emotion, and those emotions could come with a little bit of guilt, shame, or even some anger or resentment. Is at this stage of being aware, is it going to be the time for us to also deal with the emotion, or we have to just put the emotion aside?
I think right now we just need to be aware.
Okay.
I think once we become aware, we'll start seeing things clearly. You're right. If you do shame, guilt as resentment, that may come up for you. But right now, we're not going to deal with those emotions just yet. We will. And like you said, we've got a little bit of a series happening. So we will actually go through how to deal with those emotions. But it's really about how your beliefs affect your thoughts, which then affect your behavior, which then actually create the outcome. So it's just starting to recognize what's happening. We're not doing anything. We're not changing anything. We're not wanting to actually deal with everything. We're just starting to be aware of, where am I in this?
Yeah. Kelly, would you be able to also create a couple of the questions for our audience to do as an afterward? Because I know that you also like to give your audience and also your patients some assignment. Maybe we can also create the worksheets for our audience as well.
I do have a worksheet as well. Yeah, no, I do already have that, so I'll supply that too. But do this in stages. The first thing, when you first listen to this, it might be a bit confronting.
Is there any other things that you will like them to do after the being aware?
Yes. So being aware is the first one. And then the second one is, being aware is great, but these values, are they mine or are they somebody else's?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Where did they come from? That's, because that will then lean you towards what you want to do about it.
Yeah, that right away made me realize that a lot of times when I'm talking to people, especially people back in my Asia, in Asia environment, most people are going to say that I want to be a millionaire. And I just thought, okay, what does being a millionaire means to you? Oh, that means that I'm going to be comfortable. So is that your value, or is it other people's expectation? And so that's because everyone is wanting to have this kind of lifestyle. Don't you like one? I said, well, yeah, I like comfortable, but my financial abundance is quite different from yours. So
I love that. I love that, of financial abundance. If we start looking at abundance and financial being good instead of evil, we can do good with the world, right? If everyone had $1 million that we could share around, how much good could we do?
Yeah, totally. So I like the idea of starting to analyze with those thoughts or the ideas, whether it's going to be mine or it's others. What's next?
Right. Well, what values do you want then? If you see qualities in other people, if you see good qualities that you want in other people, start writing those down and let's start figuring out how do we get there instead of where we don't want to go. And all this is we'll just work it out on the worksheet. We're just one step at a time of, well, what qualities do I want with money? When I pick up the phone, and this is what I do a lot, when I pick up the phone, before I pick up the phone to call someone, I'm always grateful. Thank you, Telstra or whoever your provider is. Thank you for allowing me to be able to make this phone call. When your bills come, like I talk to my mailbox a lot. I say to my mailbox, I want more money coming into this mailbox than having to go out. Those sort of things. Thank you to my water bill because I have clean running water. Once we start making those shifts and those quality things, all of a sudden, you're right, that financial abundance comes instead of worrying about money.
Yeah. And I also think that because you are focusing on the value that you want to keep and also things that you don't want, we are actually trying to change the belief and also changing the behavior. There are going to be a certain tips that we can also share during this series with people.
Yes. We are. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, definitely. So if I am going to wrap up with our session today, I think that there are going to be 3 key takeaways for us. To start with, of course, financial therapy is basically to help people to create a good financial life. But we can always start with asking ourselves, being aware, and ask ourselves that what do I feel about money? And also, how does that feel when you are thinking about money? The second question that you can ask is it going to be my thoughts or is it other people's expectation? The third one that you also mentioned is what value am I going to keep and what value am I going to get away? Because they are going to be the ones that you're going to serve you or something is going to deplete you. Am I right to summarize that with what we just said?
Beautiful. That is exactly right, Winnie. And your financial health isn't just about the money that you make. So these ideas are going to create what your future, right? There are multiple components to financial prosperity and stability. And so to get to there, we need to get to where you want to go, not where I want to go, because that might not work for you. So just being aware, figuring it out or what we actually want, and then we can work on what's next.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Kelly. I think that we have such a group and fruitful conversation today. So I think that everyone, there are going to be a lot of information that we're going to share. Don't stay tuned. There are going to be lots of tips and tips that we are going to share with you as well, so that we are going to be able to create a financial future for you. So if you like what we share and also think someone may be benefit from the content, please like and share and subscribe our channel. And if you think that you would like to book the complimentary consultation about your money DNA, or you wanted to connect with Kelly to talk about your money therapy, or even have some conflicts that you would like to deal with your couple and also family therapists, the link and contact detail will be captured down below. Also, if you have any questions or feedback, please also leave it at the comment box, and then we are going to come back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for joining us today, and keep financially fit and healthy. We'll see you next time. Bye.